So, I'm scrolling through Facebook the other day, and I come across a parent asking for violin lessons for their 3-year-old. 3 years old. I started violin at 4, guys. Totally normal. Try the Suzuki Academy. They take very young kids. You can also refer them to the Suzuki Academy Association. Yeah, that's where I stopped. Look, I have taught hundreds of violin kids. I'm a violinist myself, and I love what it does for kids. But with the intent to explore and to play and to experiment and maybe spark some curiosity, not to improve their technique, adjust their posture, and monitor weekly progress. Because that's what comes with lessons. Now, trust me, I'm very familiar with the school of thought that says, start them early, it builds good habits. But my counter to that is, build good habits for what? Why would you want them to build good habits at age 3? And if we're honest with each other, there is no other way that you can answer that question aside from, because I, as the parent, would like to give them a head start so that way they can be a more successful player later on. Did you catch that? Because I, as the parent, would like to give them a head start so that way they can be a more successful player later on. How long are we gonna act like this is okay under the guise of helping them? This is a 3-year-old kid, and we're introducing pressure long before they know why. I have to be honest, I was really shocked when not only the post, but looking at the comments, they were all supportive. Nobody was from my school of thought that a 3-year-old should be a kid. I promise I'm ready for all the backlash. But before you give it, let me ask you this. If you ask a 3-year-old what it wants to do when it's free time, it will never tell you I want to go practice my scales and arpeggios and my position shifting. It maybe will tell you I want to play the violin, but that's maybe because it's all cartoon or a video and something, interested in it. But that shows a willingness to explore the instrument. And believe it or not, making a post looking for structured, scheduled lessons in places that take 3-year-old kids it's a different type of exposure. And sure, it is a type of exposure, but this one comes along with an expectation. And here's the part that often gets skipped. A 3-year-old is still developing basic things, fine motor skills, emotional regulation, attention span. They learn through movement, through play, through imagination, sitting still, repeating fine motor movements, being corrected, fixing posture. Listen, everything I just described isn't out of the ordinary for lessons. At the end of the day, there's a teacher, and that's their job, right? To have progress and to correct posture and to make sure we're learning violin the correct way. That's not exploring and playing. If we actually care about long-term love for the instrument, the healthiest thing actually for that age isn't structure. It's singing, it's dancing, listening, playing rhythm games, touching instruments with no pressure. That's how you build foundation without attaching stress to it. And the rebuttal I hear often is, discipline is important. And I agree, discipline matters, but discipline has to match development. A 3-year-old doesn't need structured discipline training. It's not you failing to teach them discipline at age 3. Let me explain what actually happens in these situations because I've seen it over and over again. The first few lessons go good because we're leading with curiosity and the teacher's probably gonna come in and they're gonna be very nice, and most teachers care about kids, believe it or not. They bring out fun toys and they start playing some rhythm games, and after a lesson or two, the curiosity kind of wears off. And at that point, practice becomes something that has to be enforced. Why? At some point, you're gonna have to teach this kid what an 8th note is. Or you're gonna have to teach them maybe what a triad is if it's piano, but if it's violin, at some point you're gonna have to teach them how to shift, or at some point you're gonna have to teach them how to do a scale, and even what a scale is. Does that make sense? At some point you're gonna have to move from play, which is the natural way into it, to actually teaching them something, especially if we're abiding by a method. At that point, the kid is not going to want to learn the scale or arpeggio or anything like this. But you as a teacher, in your quest to actually teach something, you are going to just literally have to say, we have to learn this. A 7-year-old, maybe you can explain this to in a way like, hey, this will help you later in life and this is something good for us to do. Like, this is something that a 7-year-old can kind of begin to understand. A 3-year-old just can't. If I were to paint this picture this way, us adults, if you have a college student, it's not gonna wanna practice. But he knows very, very well, this is gonna help me in life. I'm in college for this reason, I'm gonna practice. A 13, 14-year-old is entering high school. Of course, they don't want to practice, but they also know this is going to help them in college. You pull back to middle school, elementary school, you get to the age of 9, 10, that's right where parents start kind of teaching that it's important to do things that we don't want to do, but they help us in life, and you can kind of deal with it a little bit better. When you go to the age 3 or 4, kids can't grasp that idea. They can't even touch it. So all they're left to do when they say, I don't want to do this, is a teacher or mom and dad saying, you have to do it. They can't understand why, they just have to. So let's follow this scenario through. When pressure enters too early and a kid can't comprehend why, they begin to associate music with pressure. I've met countless people, and I'm sure you have too, that grew up with music and then ended up hating it and walking away when they're old enough. That didn't come from the instrument, it came from the experience around it. Guys, I gotta be honest, I really feel like I'm crazy. And perhaps I am. Perhaps I have the weirdest view of teaching music ever. I'm sorry, I don't think a 3-year-old should be made to go to weekly lessons. It's 3 years old, let it be a kid, let's explore.
Okay, wait, but like, what if a 3-year-old wants to take art lessons?
Yes, art is drawing, and it's not technique and posture and vibrato and reading a new language, which is notes, and learning music theory.
What if they want to learn a sport?
A sport is literally the definition of playing. We're both talking in like an understanding parent, a loving parent wanting to introduce their kid in the right way possible. This entire school of thought relies on which schools teach 3-year-olds, and there's a Suzuki method, and it's, you see what I mean? Most of these options do it so they can give their kid a head start. I don't believe in that if it's gonna take away from the fun of being a 3-year-old kid. I don't even think it's humane. And once again, my point earlier, it's gonna teach them discipline. It's 3. This is not discipline time. Okay, so what should early exposure look like? See, this is the point where we provide some value instead of just being mad at the old elitist mentality of teaching 3-year-old music theory. We're going to become useful. This is the part where we're useful.
We're finally going to explain something.
Here we go. It looks playful. It looks optional. That's a big one, optional. It looks like singing. No, you don't have to give us an example of the singing.
Singing.
Listening, rhythm games. No, I look like I'm like yelling orders. Singing, listening, rhythm games. Hold on.
I don't want to take music classes anymore.
Sit.
Sit and sing.
In curiosity with no scoreboard attached. But Suzuki is not the keyword for that. It is the elitist level thinking of a proved method that parents can just check into. When kids are ready, they don't need to be pushed, and there's a TED Talk on this, you should see it here. You like that?
Wow. That was...
You like that? It's smooth.
That was cheap.
Cheap. When kids are ready, they don't need to be pushed. You shouldn't be forcing a 3-year-old to play. I think I said it.
I think you made the point clear. I think 3-year-olds...
Half the time I was just mad.
I'm gonna put your 3-year-old in Suzuki lessons.
It's your 3-year-old too.
Oh yeah, she's not 3. She's only 10 months old.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna give her violin tomorrow.
Oh man.
She better start playing Little Star Variation.
It's in 16 notes. They teach semi-quavers in the Suzuki method. I'm making a video. I'm making a video on the Suzuki method. This is it.
Guys, no, show it on the screen. This is the first thing they teach. They don't teach Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. They teach 16th note. To teach essential elements, it's like D string, open D. I open the string, I see 16th note. I was sweating.
I'm declaring war on the Suzuki method with this video.
You should make that the title. What did you do when you were 3? You didn't even live in USA.
I was in Bulgaria.
Why? Were you learning semi-quavers?
I was in Bulgaria under a hut trying to find bugs to eat.
Maybe if you were doing the Suzuki method at age 3, you would be a lot smarter than you are right now.
I would,
You'd be a lot smarter.
I would have more discipline, that's for sure. All right. I hope you guys know what I mean. Subscribe.